What is up, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs? Welcome to the Valenti VOD. I'm your perfect and humble leader, Chris Valenti, and we have one hell of a show for you today, folks. Benjamin Netanyahu, the war criminal, genocide heir, and psychopath, has announced that he is going to begin the final solution on the people of Gaza. I'm not kidding. He just vowed to escalate the war and fully conquer all of Gaza. So we're going to cover that. We're going to go over CNN's coverage of this. We're going to watch a little bit of videos from some humanitarian aid workers on the ground. We're going to just cover the fact that we are moving into the final stage of the genocide. We have finally reached this point where the war, the genocide, the conflict, the whole thing probably will come to an end in one of two ways. Either everyone left in Gaza is exterminated, or everyone left in Gaza is relocated and forced out of their ancestral homes, which is, again, another form of genocide. It's fucking insane. We're going to watch it. None of this is good. I wish I could give you some good news today, but I can't. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It costs you nothing. It helps me immensely. If this is real independent media, so if you want to help the channel financially, please do. Become a patron, become a member, buy some merch, use the discount code for Ground News, do all that shit. But let's just dive right in. So we're talking about Benjamin Netanyahu here, and obviously you know who the fuck this is. This is the Prime Minister of Israel. Everything he posts on fucking X is in Hebrew, so you got no idea what he's saying. But he made this post in Hebrew that was translated, and Israel vows to escalate war with new plan to conquer Gaza. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the population of Gaza will be displaced to the south after his security cabinet approved an expanded military operation in the enclave that a minister described as a plan to, quote, conquer the territory. Now, this article was written at 5:30 a.m. today, Tuesday, May 6th. The vote on Sunday came hours after the military said it would mobilize tens of thousands of reservists, strengthening its capacity to operate in the besieged Palestinian territory. Quote,
"One thing will be clear. There will be no in and out,"
Netanyahu said in a Monday video message posted on X.
"We'll call up the reserves to come. Hold territory. We're not going to enter and then exit the area only to carry out raids afterward. That's not the plan. The intention is the opposite. There will be a movement of the population to protect them,"
Netanyahu said of the intensified operation. A senior Israeli security official earlier said the operation in Gaza called, quote, Gideon's Chariots, was unanimously approved by the security cabinet with the aim of subduing Hamas and securing the release of all hostages. Now, guys, I just want you to understand something. Polling in Israel shows that 97% of Israelis think that Israel isn't going far enough when it comes to the genocide on the Palestinians. So when people are like pro-Palestine or anti-Israel, it has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. And it has everything to do with Benjamin Netanyahu and Ben Gvir and their fucking genocidal tendencies. This has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. I have friends from, dude, I'm from New York. We got Jews all over the place here. And most of the Jews that I know hate Israel. Why? Because Israel is doing Jews a disservice. Israel is making anti-Semitism more popular by committing heinous acts of genocide and then saying,
"We represent all Jewish people. Israel represents all Jews."
When in the meantime, Israel, which is a government created by man, it's going to be fallible. It's going to fuck up. It's going to do heinous things, just like every other government in human fucking history. But now you're going to say that every action you take is in the name of Judaism? Okay, so then every bad action you take, every terrible decision you make, the victims are going to blame Judaism. This is not a complex conversation, and you've seen this happen to Arabs, right? Islamophobia. After 9/11, a handful, like 16 fucking terrorists from all over the place, all different ethnicities, all different beliefs, they commit an act of terror, and suddenly all of America fucking hates Islam, the most prominent religion on planet Earth. That's what this is. It's just in the converse You know, or in the inverse. Oh, this is fucking ridiculous. The plan would be implemented after U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to the Middle East next week to, quote, provide a window of opportunity for a hostage deal, the official added. If no hostage deal is reached, Operation Gideon's Chariots will begin with full force and will not stop until all its objectives are achieved. The plan then is to displace Gaza's entire population to the south of the enclave, following which the blockade of humanitarian aid may be lifted, the official said, adding the military will, quote, will remain in every area it captures. In any temporary or permanent agreement, Israel will not evacuate the security buffer zone around Gaza, which is intended to protect Israeli communities and prevent arms smuggling to Hamas. Quote, we are on the eve of a major entry into Gaza based on the recommendation of the general staff, Netanyahu said in his video message, adding that military officials told him it was time to, quote, start the final moves. So we've got a video here from Al Jazeera.
In a unanimous decision, Israel's security cabinet voted to broaden its military offensive in Gaza, seize...
Real quick, chatter said Hamas attacked Israel. Chris, Israel is defending itself. Hamas did attack Israel. You are correct. Hamas killed something like 1,200 Israelis, 800 of which were civilians. The rest of them were IDF members. And yes, that's heinous. October 7th was terrible. But Israel's response was to commit a genocide and slaughter hundreds of thousands of people. 200,000 civilians have been murdered, not Hamas members, civilians in Palestine. Now, two wrongs don't make a right. I understand that what Hamas did was heinous, but bombing the ever-living fuck out of a civilian population is not the solution. It's war, Chris. No, that's genocide. That's genocide. When you're slaughtering hundreds of thousands of innocents with drones and snipers and Moabs, that's genocide. A war has two sides fighting against each other. A war does not have hundreds of thousands of innocents being slaughtered.
Palestinian territory and occupy the Strip. According to Israeli officials, the plan will force Palestinians into southern Gaza, and the Israeli army would engage in what's being described as intensive fighting for months. And within Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government, far-right members say a decision like this was long overdue.
It's clear there won't be any in-and-out operations. We'll recruit reserve soldiers to enter and control the ground.
From the moment the military operation begins, the areas we will occupy, we will not leave them.
The move has been criticized by family members of Israeli captives, saying escalating the fighting will leave their loved ones in Gaza abandoned.
Chatter asks, so was the firebombing of Dresden a genocide? No, but it was absolutely a war crime. No, because the firebombing of Dresden wasn't designed to get the people of Dresden. There was a different reasoning for it. It was to try and get the German people to turn on the German government. It was definitely a war crime, and we've admitted that. The firebombing of Dresden and Tokyo were both war crimes, yes. But no, they're not forms of genocide.
And put their lives at further risk.
We are all under the understanding that the continuation of the war will not bring the hostages back.
Satellite images captured within the last week revealed the Israeli military leveling buildings and constructing a new area west of Rafah in southern Gaza, one that mirrors a planned so-called humanitarian zone near the Marag axis. But it remains unclear when or whether this new plan will be realized. One Israeli official says the government is waiting for a visit by U.S. President Donald Trump to the region. The Palestinians in Gaza are left to face death, destruction, and starvation as Israel continues to block humanitarian aid and wage its war on the Strip. Hamda Salhout, Al Jazeera.
We're now going to speak to Robbie Damalin, who's the spokeswoman of the Parent Circle Families Forum, joining us from Tel Aviv this hour. Thank you for your time. So we now know that the Israeli Security Cabinet has approved these plans to expand its military occupation in Gaza and effectively just take it all. How do you think this decision is going to impact families, Palestinian families and Israeli families?
But all war impacts families. I don't think that people see what happens to people during the war. What is the consequence of all this madness? This is really, I think, the darkest time for Israel and Palestine. I know you have all the political experts talking about it, but I want to talk about the human factor. I want to talk about the people on the ground that are working to make change, because that's what's important. You can hear all the political experts, world experts on peace, or world experts on war, or the Houthis, and all of the other things that I've heard on your program. But do you ever meet my Aussie non, whose parents were burned to death on the 7th of October, and he is creating an organization which is having the largest anti-war event on this Thursday and Friday. It's called the People's Peace Summit.
So what this person here is talking about is a Israeli citizen whose parents were burnt to death by Hamas, and yet this Israeli citizen understands that the genocide Israel is committing on Gaza will not make things better. It will make more parents get burned to death. Every action Israel has taken since October 7th has made everything worse. Now, is this to say that Israel doesn't have a right to defend itself? No, not at all. Israel absolutely has a right to defend itself. Israel is also one of the most highly trained nations on planet Earth. They have the best snipers and the best air force on planet Earth. They have the best technology, the best drones. They have one of the best militaries on planet Earth. They are more than capable of sending in special ops units to find Hamas. But instead, they have chosen to simply bomb, destroy everything in Gaza, level every last hospital. There isn't a single hospital or school left standing in Gaza. There isn't a single hospital or school left standing in Gaza. This is intentional.
Thousands and thousands of people will gather in Jerusalem to try to find a way to end this madness. We cannot go on killing each other. I think of the human consequence. I think of the women and the children in Gaza, and I can't bear to be part of this situation. And so I will do everything in my power to make change. We have Palestinian partners who have not left the parent circle since the 7th of October. In fact, they have lost huge amounts of family in Gaza and also in the West Bank, and yet they stay and talk for peace. And we had this week a ceremony on Memorial Day where thousands of Palestinians and Israelis came to listen, both in the West Bank and in Tel Aviv. And people all over the world were listening to this beautiful ceremony where Palestinians could come and tell their story.
Right.
Where Musa, who tells his story of losing 25 of his family members, one a doctor who came home to find his wife and child had been killed, and yet he still maintains the message of reconciliation.
Let me just jump in there for a second on that message of reconciliation, and just for clarity, your association, the Parents Circle Families Forum, it's a joint Israeli-Palestinian organization of over 700 families, right, who've all lost an immediate family member to the ongoing conflict. But do you feel like your work is making a difference at all?
No.
I can only tell you that for me, when the 7th of October happened, it was like almost the same as when I heard my son had been killed. I wanted to change the world overnight. And the survival tactic is to work as hard as you can. And so I've been to America for 7 times. I've been to Italy and England and you name it, to try to stop the polarization, to try to stop people from importing our conflict and creating hatred between Jews and Muslims. And I can tell you that at this ceremony that we had the other night, there were the most extraordinary people. One of them was a hostage, and was released, and her husband was killed, and his body is still in Gaza. And so if those kind of people can come and talk out for peace, then call
Shatter
all these...
just said Trump will make Gaza into #1. That's why we need Trump. He will fix this and make peace, but Chris doesn't like that because it's Trump. I can't make this shit up, bro. This is the level, this is the lack of intellect that you and I are up against. Trump will make Gaza into #1. Trump, Gaza #1. Peace and love for everyone. There's nothing anybody can say to fix somebody like that. That person is so stupid. There's nothing anybody can say to fix that. That's insanity.
Wonderful politicians all over the
Peace out,
world.
Maximus.
Why don't they support the NGOs on the ground who are working to end the conflict, who are working day and night to try to find another way, to try to find a political solution? Yes, we have the worst government that we've ever had. We have the most dangerous people. But if we don't work to stop this, then what is the future for my grandchildren?
That was my question to you, in fact, is that you have a right-wing government in Israel. Some would say probably the most right-wing government Israel has ever had. So how does your talk of peace and reconciliation actually go down at home?
Well, we were thrown out of the schools where we've been working for many, many years cross-border into Israeli classrooms, but we don't give up. That is the point. You can try to stop this. We are probably the most unpopular organization with this present government because we are a threat, because we are the human consequence. If bereaved parents, and by the way, we are now 800 members since October the 7th, which is heartbreaking, but we have the most extraordinary people who have joined, people who lost members of their family on the 7th, whose parents were burned to death, whose children were killed. And think about all the children in Gaza, and if you really want to help, then get somebody to force the government to allow food in for everybody and mainly for children, because they are the consequence of this madness. How many children must die before they will realize? You know,
All of them. She asks, how many children must die before we realize? All of them. We're talking about Israel. They are purposefully targeting the children, and I've got evidence.
Consider the fact that Israeli military snipers specifically target Palestinian children. That's the assessment of dozens of international medics who have made it into Gaza. Just listen to what this one Jewish American doctor told CBS.
And then there's sniper bullets. I have children that were shot twice.
Wait, you're saying that children in Gaza are being shot by snipers?
Definitively. I have 2 children that I have photographs of that were shot so perfectly in the chest I couldn't put my stethoscope over their heart more accurately, and directly on the side of the head. In the same child. No toddler gets shot twice by mistake by the world's best sniper.
Toddlers getting shot square through the heart and then again in the side of the head by the world's best snipers. If you think that's an accident, I can't help you.
And they're dead center shots.
One American doctor told us he even reviewed CT scans to confirm what he saw because he, quote, didn't believe that this many children could be admitted to a single hospital with gunshot wounds to the head.
Of all the disaster zones you've seen, how does Gaza compare?
All of the disasters I've seen combined, 40 mission trips, 30 years, ground zero, earthquakes, all of that combined doesn't equal the level of carnage that I saw against civilians in just my first week in Gaza.
And when you say civilians, is it mostly children?
Almost exclusively children.
So this doctor said that the patients he saw in Gaza that he dealt with were almost exclusively children shot by snipers.
I've never seen that before.
And you see video evidence of this. You see footage of Israeli snipers targeting Palestinian children who pose absolutely no threat, even in the West Bank. Look at these two kids who clearly pose no threat in Jenin. And look at this one Palestinian child standing around doing nothing, also getting shot, and listen to him scream after.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Now watch CNN.
But people in this chat who support Israel will say that that kid deserved to be shot in the stomach, right? Because October 7th happened. So yeah, shoot that fucking kid, right? Right?
CNN's coverage of a grandmother holding the hand of her young grandson and waving a white flag being targeted by an Israeli sniper.
Now surrounded by Israeli forces. She holds the hand of her 5-year-old grandson Tayyim tightly, and then suddenly, little Tayyim quickly runs away as her son Mohammed rushes towards her. If you slow the video down, you can see Hala start to turn just before she is shot, as if she had caught sight of something. From the angle of her fall and the movement of the fleeing group, it is clear that the bullet came from the west or the south. CNN has geolocated the intersection. Mohammed told us when he reached his mother, he looked up and saw 2 Israeli tanks ahead of him
Note
to the
that chatter in this chat, Christian24, he sees this. He sees the children being shot, and he says, that's fine. That's okay.
south. And just 200 meters to the west, we know Israeli troops were stationed at the new Gaza prep school for boys, as captured here in satellite images and a photograph published on November 12th, the day Hala was killed.
You add on top of that Israel targets safe zones deliberately after they tell civilians to flee to them.
The aftermath of an airstrike in Rafah in southern Gaza, victims buried under the rubble. Rima Shabir is rushed to the hospital as her father attempts first aid. An NBC News investigation reveals that this is one of at least 7 deadly strikes in areas our Gaza team filmed after the IDF.
I'm not a Trump MAGA rat, as y'all say. I have opinions on this. If you're seeing this same footage that I'm showing you and you don't think this is heinous, you're not seeing the pearly gates. I need you to understand something. I don't know if you guys are Christian. I'm not Christian. But if you are truly a believer in Christ, if you can watch this footage of these children being shot in the fucking face, and you can go, well, that's war, it happens. Jesus Christ is not welcoming you into heaven. St. Peter is rejecting you at the fucking gate. I hope you understand that. I hope you understand that.
IDF had explicitly designated them as safe in December. Our investigation reveals that the IDF targeted El Zahur, Al Shabura, and Tal El Sultan after it told residents to head there. On January 9th, an airstrike in Tal El Sultan. The attack hits the home of the Nofal family there, killing 15. On April 20th at 10 p.m., also in the Shabura district, a building leveled. Among those killed, a pregnant woman who NBC News reported on earlier this week. Her premature baby briefly survived, but died days later.
The fact that Israeli military and intelligence officials confessed to toppling entire residential buildings without warning on top of their residents, using a program called Where is Daddy, where they specifically target militants.
So the Israelis have a AI targeting system, an autonomous targeting system that is nicknamed Where's Daddy. And they named it Where's Daddy because they kill so many people that the children of Gaza keep on saying, Where's Daddy? You heard me right. You heard me right. And yet, people in this chat will say, well, war's war.
At home with their families when they know they're there, instead of trying to kill them when they're out by themselves. Or there is the story of the 15 medics that they murdered and then buried their ambulance and tried to cover it up and lied about what had happened. Or the story of 6-year-old Hind Rajab, who was also murdered, and when the ambulance was specifically given approval by the Israeli government to get her, they ended up killing the medics inside that ambulance as well. Or just consider the fact that every major human rights organization in the world now accuses Israel of unspeakable crimes, including the crime of genocide and genocidal acts. I could go on giving evidence like this for another hour, but at some point, your feeling that Israel has a very moral army that never does anything wrong has to take a back step and make room in your brain for the avalanche of evidence demonstrating that Israel operates a terrorist genocidal army that is destroying a civilian population.
So, you saw what I saw. And the last thing I just want to show you is some drone footage of what Gaza looked like before and after the war. These drone shots were taken 15 months apart, I believe. Let me see if I can get the footage. I got to reload the page. Here you go. There's no audio to this, by the way. Here's Gaza City before. After. Here's Jabalia, northern Gaza before. After. But yeah, each one of those buildings was probably holding Hamas, right? Here's Khan Yunis before. After. But again, every single one of those buildings must have had a Hamas terrorist, right, guys? Here's Rafah before. After. But again, guys, don't worry. Don't worry. The hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians that they've killed, they've probably all been harboring Hamas terrorists, right? I'm being sarcastic, and I know it's fucked up to even be sarcastic at a time like this, but nothing I can do about it. Yeah, they do hide in buildings. So if your mother was taken hostage and was hiding in a building, would it be okay for me to blow up the entire fucking building knowing your mother was in there? Would that be okay, Christian? Would that be okay? If your mother was taken hostage and I knew that she was in the building and I blew... Oh, so it wouldn't be okay. Oh, okay, so you no longer support Israel, Christian? You no longer support Israel, right? No, he's going to still support Israel. There's no fucking point in doing this. Anyway, that's all I got for you. If you're watching this live, you stay. We're going to keep the live going for a little bit longer. If you're watching this pre-recorded on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It costs you nothing. It helps me immensely. I wish I had something to soften the blow for you, but I don't. Benjamin Netanyahu has begun the final solution. Far more Palestinians are going to die. And there's really nothing we can do, especially when we have people in, even like my own chat, people like Christian24 who say, no, this is all fine. Keep it going. Israel has a right to defend itself. Keep on killing children. Keep on sniping toddlers. This is a problem in America where there are people who think that they are good people and they're unironically demons from hell that will never go to heaven if you believe in something like that. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll catch you in the next episode of the Valenti VOD. If you're here live, you stay. Oh, and by the way, click that video right there.